Hello, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. Thank you for joining. This is the last Office Hours session that the ConnectALL office has scheduled prior to the application deadline on Friday. So this is an open forum for folks to ask any last-minute questions, clarifications, technical troubleshooting we can help you with in the portal, anything like that. We will try to answer as many questions as we can here live, and if there's anything we're not able to answer live, we will provide answers in writing. So I see one question has come in the chat. If we're working on several project IDs, is it better to submit as one RFA or separate them out? I assume project IDs, you mean project area IDs. If that's correct, you need to separate them out. The RFA application is one-to-one for project areas. The RFA applications are based on project areas. So you can only select one project area in your application. If you are applying for funding for multiple project areas, you will need to create multiple applications. There is a feature in the portal called cloning that allows you to copy an existing application. And so if you are applying, if you're planning to submit multiple applications and a lot of the details between those applications are going to be the same. For example, a lot of your narrative answers about your workforce plan, your labor compliance, like many of those answers might be the same between applications. You can use the functionality in the portal to clone your application once you've essentially finished your first one. So I will pull up, we have a link on the portal website to some instructions on how to clone. So I'll put that in the chat as well, but it's right on the homepage. When you go to the CFA portal homepage, there's like a call out box for cloning an application. Thank you for the question.
Hi, Kat. I have a question.
Hello.
It deals, for example, in question 16656, where the cost proposal templates are required.
Mm-hmm.
It's my understanding that if an applicant is going to provide 100% proposal, which is required, and I'm talking about the priority proposals for fiber, they are also allowed to do a secondary and a tertiary submission. If for the cost proposal template, I'm reading the instructions to say if you have more than one, put them together in a zip file with the naming nomenclature, the applicant name, the file type, and then the date. The separate spreadsheets that would be put into the zip file, is there any guidance on the naming nomenclature? Do we have the same names for those? And then whoever the reviewer is would figure out which one's for the 100%, which one's for the secondary, or is there?
Yeah, I love this question. It is so considerate of us, and we should have put in that guidance. We did not for the attachment questions that require multiple files to be uploaded. As you've noted, the only naming convention we gave was for the actual zip file. So because of that, because we realize that not everybody is going to name the individual files uniformly, we have built in a process on our side to deal with that. So you don't need to worry about the namings of those individual files. Just make sure that the zip file you upload matches the naming convention that's in the portal, and we will be processing the individual files within that zip on our end. We've figured out a way to handle that.
Okay, so as long as whoever is working with them understand, or on the applicant side understands which one is which, then you're okay either way. Okay.
Yeah, use whatever is easiest for you internally, and then in the headers of each of those templates, there's the field to indicate which proposal it is. So that's what we will use on our side to know which cost proposal corresponds to which proposal.
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, I have another question. For questions 16658 that deals with a letter of credit or performance bond. And maybe you've covered this and I missed it or just forgot it. If an applicant is going to submit, let's say, a couple applications, more than one application,
Mhm.
Is it, is the letter of credit or performance bond commitment um, that would be submitted, that would cover, that would be an umbrella letter that would cover all applications, correct? As a,
Correct,
okay,
correct, yeah.
okay.
And as you say that, I know we've discussed this internally, but I'm not sure we've published this anywhere. I'll double check, but, the it is an umbrella letter that applies to all of your proposals, but also, the letter of commitment, I think, as described in the RFA describes like what it should contain. And one of the
Mhm.
things mentioned in there is like specific amount that this bank is securing. And so that amount should correspond with whatever the highest value proposal is that's included in your application.
Would it be the highest value proposal or would it be a combination of them all?
It wouldn't be a combination of them all because you would not, in theory, within an individual application that's for one project area, you wouldn't have like multiple additive proposals approved. It'd be one of the proposals in that project area that might get awarded. So I think you only need to go off of the top amount. You don't need to sum them.
Okay. For example, if somebody's submitting 5 applications
Sure, yeah.
and
Between applications, if there's multiple project areas, then that's, I would say, between you and the financial institution, if you want to do like different letters that correspond to each of those
yep,
individual project areas, or something that's like a true blanket letter across multiple applications, that it's up
yeah,
to you. But within an individual application, it should be a blanket letter for all the proposals.
and it's only the top dollar amount proposal that we need to worry about. Not, for example, if out of the 5 applications, if 4 required a match of $1 million,
Mhm.
and then the the last one required a match of 3 million. Instead of 3 plus 4 for a total of 7, you're only looking for an umbrella letter that would cover 3, and that could be used for all the applications. If that made sense.
I think I got mixed up in the numbers there.
Yeah, you and me both.
Sorry.
Okay, for example, let's say there's 5 applications.
Right.
The top dollar amount application would require let's say it requires a $3 million match. Well, actually, we're going off the award amount, right? Okay. All right. Let's say it required a $3 million commitment letter.
Hmm.
The other 4 applications would only require a $1 million commitment letter
Got it.
individually, each one. So if there was one award, it would require a $1 million commitment.
Right.
If all 5 were awarded, then it would be 3 million for one and then a million for 4, total of 7 million.
Right.
Should the
Yeah.
blanket letter only, you're saying the blanket letter would only need to cover the 3 million because that's the highest amount and not the total of all applications.
Yeah. So within your application, a $3 million letter would be sufficient for each of those individual applications. I think it potentially gets a little more complicated if I believe maybe last week, I don't remember if it was you, but there were others who have suggested, I'm going to apply for multiple project areas that are dependent on each other. In that scenario, then I think you may want to engage in those discussions with your financial institution about the $7 million totals, and since that's ultimately like the overall project that you're going after. And it would be good to have those discussions sooner rather than later with them. But for the purposes of our application, those letters are going to be looked at on an individual application basis. So the $3 million letter would still be sufficient. If ultimately ConnectALL ends up awarding you several different project areas, then if you only provided a letter for the lower $3 million amount, but the actual commitment is going to end up being higher, then we'll need to revise that. But
Okay,
for the application, you only really need to look at it from the single application perspective. But if your organization is already, planning to do a bigger project, then it may be worth the time upfront to have those kind of proactive conversations with the financial institution.
yeah, we've had discussions, just there was confusion about what to state in the letter. So you clarified that for me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I understand that
To the
it's subject to change during an award process. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Which is why the only thing required at this stage, and I don't say the only thing to discount or trivialize the requirement, but what's required at this stage is the letter of commitment, and then the actual letter of credit or performance bond would not be until your final award amount is known, obviously.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's
Thank you.
helpful.
Great.
So I'm working as a consultant with a group applying for for the Randall's Island area. And I just wanted to see if, because we're having a few issues getting access to the location fabric to confirm the specific addresses or corresponding buildings for BEAD eligible locations on Randall's Island. And I was wondering if we would be able to, if there was any other way to get that information than going through the FCC, as kind of our respective entities are trying to do right now in our consortium.
All right, can you just restate what data you're looking for?
The basically the corresponding addresses for the location IDs for Randall's Island.
Got it. Mark, I may defer to you. ConnectALL is not able to share.
That makes sense.
Is correlated directly with the location IDs because of the licensing
Of
restrictions
course.
you're familiar with.
Totally.
Do you have another recommendation for how someone might go about?
Yeah, I'm not sure I do. So yeah, you're correct. Unfortunately, we cannot share the
That's okay.
addresses.
Is there
Yeah.
any way to, so obviously it's a very small space, right? Like, I guess I'm trying to figure out, there's a variety of different things there. Some of them are public buildings, like the NYPD training, fire department training, wastewater facility. Is there any way to tell me, like, are any of the government owned buildings part of that, or is it just other buildings? Or is that still too detailed?
So I don't know your view, Kat. I think in principle it is not. It would be possible to give some general comments like that. We need to go away to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have off the top of my head. But
That's
what do you
okay.
think, Kat?
Sure. Maybe it's something, Harper, if you want to submit the question via email, we can
Okay.
get back. I think you joined after I put this in the chat, so let me add this again. But we have a general email address for the program that you can use.
Okay, fantastic. Great. Thank you so much.
This may have been asked. I don't know if it was asked, but
No problem.
we've got this round, and I know a lot of counties aren't getting applications. Do we know that we're going to have a second round to try and address the counties that don't get applications this round?
We're going to determine that after the deadline, once we take in all the applications and see which project areas, got proposals. But there may be additional solicitations. There may be redrawn project areas, kind of reserving all possible options at this point. I do anticipate if that happens, it'll be fairly quick. We're gonna try to move fast and, keep that process moving if there are additional rounds of solicitations that need to happen. So we will make sure to keep everyone updated who's on the email list for the program. If there is another solicitation that goes out.
Okay, thanks. If we've got a county where one project area would depend on us doing the other project area, how do we indicate that, or is that not indicatable? There's one county, for example, that honestly probably won't apply for at all, but we're on the western side and we could do the western side. We can't do the eastern without doing the western. On the other hand, the eastern side justifies doing the western, so we want them both, basically. How do we handle that?
Yeah.
If we're going to do it at all.
So there's a question, there's an optional question at the very end of the application. It's number 16783. And it is basically an open field of like, is there anything else you want to tell ConnectALL? If there are any interdependencies or just considerations that ConnectALL should be aware of between your applications, flag them there.
Okay.
And that will get flagged in our application database. We'll kind of have that to reference as we're reviewing all the different pieces.
Right. And unless somebody else ends up asking a question, in several of the counties that I've looked at, you've got, let's say 2 or 3 project areas, and you've got a fourth or a second or a third, whatever, that's -99 and has like 3 households or 5 households, and they're scattered all across the county as opposed to being in a project area. So far, I've just been ignoring those, but what are we supposed to do with those?
Yeah, those are sort of deliberately quote unquote like quarantined project areas because there are locations that ConnectALL is aware have certain concerns about them. I think you might have participated like last year. There was a process where we requested information from people about locations that shouldn't receive service, etc.
Right.
So a lot of the locations that are in those project areas are a result of that information gathering. They're locations that we believe may be difficult to serve for one reason or another. Mark, is there more context you would add on those 99 project areas?
Yeah, the ones I saw would not be hard to serve in the counties I've looked at, but there's no rational sense to where they are because they're everywhere or scattered at random places. But okay, thanks. So I can just ignore it.
Yes, Mark, is there anything else you would want to say on that?
No, I think just reiterate that they are kind of their own project areas and they're not part of a broader project area they're geographically located in for that purpose. Yes, you can ignore them.
All right, coming up on the last minute or so here. So just again to restate, this session was recorded. This recording will get posted on the ConnectALL website. I took notes on all the questions asked. I believe the one about the financial letter of commitment, we will supplement with an answer in writing to make sure everyone sees that. But otherwise, feel free to direct any colleagues to review this recording if they would like to hear the other questions discussed. And don't worry, it will be edited down to take out quiet times. Yeah, we'll go ahead and close this out as soon as we hit 3. But the email address remains accessible to you if you have any other last minute issues as you're finalizing your application. Thank you to everyone who joined today, and thank you in general for your interest in the program. We're really looking forward to seeing all the applications come in on Friday and get this show on the road. So with that, I will go ahead and end the session when we get to, and we'll shoot out an email with the updated Q&A and recording. Thank you everyone for joining.